What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? It is that time of year again. Welcome to the Iron Bowl preview show. I am your host, TigerWarEagle14. Welcome to the TigerWarEagle14 show. And if we can get his mic to unmute, we got Lawtide with us. Very special guest.
What's up? What's up? Got crazy dogs over here. They're barking right now. What's going on?
Oh, man. Hey, I feel you have a dog too, and he goes crazy sometimes, but thanks again for joining, man. I really do appreciate it. This is the first time I've had a non-Tennessee or Florida fan join my show, so I appreciate you joining me. Let's go ahead and take a look at the series history. Of course, this will be the 85th all-time meeting in the history of the Iron Bowl between Auburn and Alabama. Of course, the Alabama Crimson Tide leads the series 46-37-1, but that was mostly thanks to their long winning streak back from like the 70s into the 80s until Auburn's Bo Jackson broke the streak. Of course, you saw that in the hype video leading up to that streak-ending game in 1982 in Legion Field. However, despite Alabama leading the series, Auburn actually leads the series in both cities of Auburn and Tuscaloosa. Auburn leads in Jordan-Hare 10-5, of course, last year's classic. And then in Tuscaloosa, Auburn still leads the series 7-5. Of course, their last win came back in 2010. In Birmingham, like I mentioned, Alabama has dominated the series at the Old Gray Lady by a series score of 34-18-1. And actually, the Iron Bowl actually did get to play several times in Montgomery. I'm sure probably at Old Crampton Bowl or probably in some random park. Anyway, the series is tied in Montgomery 2-2, but I doubt we're ever going back to Montgomery anytime soon. Let's go ahead and get to some other headlines that are in the SEC as well as across the nation. Last week, of course, the Auburn Tigers took down the Tennessee Vols 30-17. And I'll tell you this, Lawtide. Jeremy Pruitt has really gotten a lot of attention over the past couple of days with his comments regarding the team's performance against the Auburn Tigers. They were up 10-0 early in the first half. And then he was asked in the post-game, in the post-game interviews, when Pruitt was asked what he would say to the fans concerned about the state of the program, Pruitt said, quote, "That ain't my job. My job is to coach." So what's your take on that? I mean, have you honestly, it just goes to show you, I guarantee you that Jeremy Pruitt has probably lost control of this program at Tennessee.
It seems like he's lost it. One thing I think, would help them is, winning some football games that they should win. They're a broken fan base and they're a broken program right now. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they just gave Pruitt an extension, so I don't know if they're going to fire him this year or not. But it's not looking good up there at Rocky Top.
No, it isn't. I mean, it's just I don't know what's been happening up in Knoxville the past couple of years. I mean, if you look at what's been going on, I mean, when they started rolling back in last season, I thought Pruitt had the job sealed. But then, of course, I mean, you never know. I mean, yeah, they lost to Georgia State and BYU last year, but I mean, it's just one of those deals that is so unfortunate. And of course, I think, and like I said, I think Pruitt has lost all control of that program up in Knoxville. But and then he was asked about his comfort level with the offensive coordinator. This is also part two to what I was saying about it. He said, I don't know. Did you watch the game? We had more yards than they did. So, well, yards ain't going to win you a lot in football unless it's points. So, yeah, I'm sure you agree with me, and I'm going to agree with myself. He has lost all control of that program, and it's probably going to be a matter of time that that he'll probably get fired if he's not careful with the program. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at some. By the way, Dabo Swinney, I forgot to mention. Of course, he's had more comments about Florida State canceling the game. I don't know. Well, pretty much it was the medical staff that decided to cancel the game or not forego with the game. So it's not the coach's decision. That's really the doctors and everything. I don't know how that works, but let's go ahead and take a look at some games that are happening in the SEC this week. The Kentucky Wildcats traveling to Florida Now, I think if I'm correct, should Florida win today, I think they win the East, or if they got to win one more time after this week, then they'll win the East, unless Georgia loses to South Carolina today, which I think will, or not today, but this Saturday, which I doubt will happen. So, what do you see? Do you see Kentucky taking out Florida, or does Florida get one step closer to go to Atlanta?
I think Florida, they're ready to punch their ticket to Atlanta. Kentucky, they just look. I mean, they had some players out with COVID. And but at least they played us, unlike LSU did. But I think Florida's hitting on all cylinders with their offense. Their defense didn't look too good last week against Vanderbilt. So but I think they'll probably beat Kentucky by at least 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're playing in the Swamp. It's hard to win down there at the Swamp. I'm going to take the Gators, and I'll take that they win by 24. Vanderbilt and Tennessee was supposed to play this week, but of course that game got postponed. So instead, this week they're taking on Missouri, who also had their game against Arkansas postponed. So this week it'll be the Missouri Tigers taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores in the rescheduled game from earlier this year. Vanderbilt right now 0-7. They played Florida really hard last week, but do you think they put up another good fight against Missouri, or does Missouri give Vanderbilt their 8th consecutive loss?
Man, I tell you, Vanderbilt, they've come along. I mean, I know you can watch their games and say that they're getting better. But, they're coming up on the short end of the stick. I think Vanderbilt, will have a chance in this game, but I think Missouri will probably pull it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think Missouri Vanderbilt, like you said, they've been improving, and I've actually been paying attention to Vanderbilt some, and they have been improving, but I just don't think it'll be enough to beat Missouri, especially if it's being played at Faurot Field in Columbia. Let's go ahead and head out west to our next-door neighbors in Mississippi, the Battle for the Golden Egg, that's what they call it over there. This rivalry usually is very chippy every single year, and also every year is played on Thanksgiving. However, this year that's not the case. They're playing on Saturday. I think this is the first time they've played on a Saturday since 2014, when Ole Miss was trying to get the SEC West, but of course that night Alabama beat Auburn to punch their ticket to Atlanta. So anyway, the Battle for the Golden Egg, 3:00 on SEC Network. Mississippi State at Ole Miss. Who do you got?
I got Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss their offense is a lot better than Mississippi State's right now. Mississippi State's defense is pretty bad, which Ole Miss is too. But I just think Lane Kiffin's probably going to pull out that win.
Yeah, battle of first-year head coaches. I forgot to mention that as well. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss and Mike Leach at Mississippi State. I mean, when I've told everyone else who's been a guest on my show that I really thought Mississippi State was finally turning the corner earlier than I expected with Mike Leach. But of course, that's just because LSU has been pretty bad this year so far. But I think he'll get a turnaround soon. Next year, he's going to improve the team, and I'm sure in about 2 years, maybe 3, he'll have that program turn around like he did at Washington State, like he did at Texas Tech. But for this weekend, I'm going to go with the Ole Miss Rebels, and I'm going to hop aboard the Lane train and see if the Rebels can get the golden egg back to Oxford. 2 years ago, these two teams went into 7 OTs, 7 overtimes. I was really hoping they go to an 8th, because I don't think in college football history there's never been an 8th overtime. But unfortunately, it was the Aggies that pulled off in 7 overtimes. Of course, before the Mississippi State game earlier this year, that was LSU's last loss in the regular season. So who do you have, the Aggies or the Tigers?
I think the Aggies are a team to be reckoned with. I said that in the beginning of the year, even when we played them, and I know we put it on them, but they got some dudes on that football team. Kelly Mond's really come along this year. I know everybody was looking for A&M to, fold like they usually do in the end of the year, but I think they come on. LSU, they've lost too much. You can see it. Their defense is coaching out there at Baylor now. Their offense ain't looking much better. So I got A&M big in that game.
Yeah, Kyle Field against LSU. I just don't know if it'll be enough for LSU to pull it off. So I'm going to go with the 5th-ranked Aggies. Speaking of course, from earlier about South Carolina, Georgia, the Gamecocks will host the Georgia Bulldogs. Last time these two saw each other, South Carolina pulled off the big upset win over Georgia, derailing their hopes of a possible playoff chance. Georgia comes into this game ranked 13th. This game will be seen at 6:30 on the SEC network. Does South Carolina go back-to-back, or does Georgia stop the bleeding since the Florida loss?
I think Georgia's going to mollywop these boys. I think they found them quarterback last week, JT Daniels. I mean, he come on strong. He threw for over 400 last week in a game against Mississippi State that they won. Another defense didn't play all that great, but everybody knows what Georgia's defense is all about. So I got Georgia big in that one.
Yeah, I'm going to say Georgia big as well because, I mean, yeah, South Carolina's their only highlight win of the year so far was that Auburn takedown. But let's be honest, Auburn was off the whole game. They were fighting on the sidelines. They couldn't get it together. Bo Nix kept throwing picks. But I don't think it's going to be enough for South Carolina to take down another top 20 team this year. So I think South Carolina will fall to the Georgia Bulldogs. That's my prediction on that. Let's go ahead and take a look at some other
one thing. I'm sorry. I wanted to say, I think South Carolina should have kept Muschamp at least for the end of the year. They're still going to end up having to pay him. I mean, at least the kids would have had somebody to follow instead of, having to hear another voice in the locker room. Getting rid of him in the season.
Well, here's the thing: you can't score a touchdown at Texas A&M. I mean, and you say you have one of the best offenses in the country, you need to prove it. I think time just ran out for Will Muschamp, but I agree that he should have been fired at the end of the year, not in the middle of the year, because honestly that will make no sense to me. I mean, look what Auburn did back like 8 years ago. We got rid of Gene Chizik after the Iron Bowl. Literally hours after the Iron Bowl, we got rid of him. But let's go take a look at some other games across the country. Iowa State at Texas, Darrell K. Royal Memorial Texas Stadium. That game will be seen at 11 o'clock a.m. Friday on ABC for some of your little Black Friday post-Thanksgiving meal. So who do you got, Texas or Iowa State?
I got them Longhorns. I think them Longhorns are really coming on. I like quarterback old Sam. He runs a pretty good offense over there. Iowa State, they're up and down. I mean, I know they got upset earlier this year. First game of the year, everybody thought they were going to be really tough, but I think Texas beats them.
I want to disagree. This is going to be my first disagree on the show of the day. I'm going to go with Iowa State in this one because, look, I mean, Brock Purdy, I don't know I can't remember who the darn coach is. I think either that's his name or if that's the quarterback's name, but the coach
out there's got the quarterback's name.
Yeah, the coach out there at Iowa State's got it going on. So does Brock Purdy at Iowa State. I think Iowa State pulls it off at Texas. I don't remember the last time Iowa State beat Texas at Austin, but we're going to find out if they can do it. Previously undefeated Liberty, after their heartaching loss to North Carolina State this past Saturday, will host the UMass Minutemen, who this past weekend could have been playing at Auburn if the COVID-19 hadn't happened, but they're going to go travel to Liberty this weekend. So who do you got, Minutemen or the Flames?
I think Liberty's going to win. I mean, they've played everybody tough this year. They've even beaten some ACC schools.
Yeah, I think they beat one ACC team this year. I know it's Virginia Tech, but they beat somebody else.
They beat Syracuse. Syracuse.
Yeah, that's it.
Like a drum. They beat them like a drum.
But if they would have if they would have kicked that field goal to beat NC State, that would have been very impressive to beat three teams in the Power Five, and you got nobody scheduled like BYU did. That would have been really impressive. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Liberty as well. First of two games, believe it or not, yes, this is true. This is first of two football games happening at the old Gray Lady of Graymont Avenue at Legion Field in Birmingham upcoming this Friday. First at 11:30 a.m., you got Southern Mississippi traveling to UAB. This will be UAB's final ever home game at Legion Field before they move into that brand new stadium in uptown Birmingham. And, of course, later that night, you got a high school playoff game. The Ramsey Rams taking on Pleasant Grove. That game's later on that night, way after the UAB game. I don't think I've ever remembered the last time there was a high school game following a college game. But, yeah. But what do you think of the new stadium in Birmingham that UAB is getting?
I hear it's nice. I mean, I hear it's real nice, and Birmingham, they've the people there, they've all put in the money and they've built them a nice stadium, is what I hear.
I mean, yeah, I've been up there several times, like to get something to eat over there uptown. And I'll tell you something, that's going to be a nice stadium. It's also going to host the next year. It'll host the AHSAA playoffs, the Super 7. For the first time the city's ever hosted, or the first time the city hosted the Super 7 in years since since before the back and forth between Tuscaloosa and Auburn. But anyway, UAB taking on Southern Miss. Who do you got?
I got UAB. I got the Blazers.
Yeah, I agree. UAB's tough, and if they win out, this is why I read one the other day. But if they win out, or either they win out or they win tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Friday, then they'll win the Conference USA, whatever division they're in, for the third consecutive season. So I mean, look, at this point, I'm surprised nobody has asked Bill Clark to be a head coach for their team. Not even South Carolina's asked him yet, which is really surprising. I mean, this guy's got it turned around. I mean, this guy can develop talent, and he can get a team to their conference championship games. And he also won one in 2018. But next game on our list, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, second-ranked Fighting Irish, travels to Chapel Hill to the Fighting Mac Browns of North Carolina. So who do you got, 25th-ranked Tar Heels or the Fighting Irish?
I think it's going to be a good game. Also, I like what old Brown's done at North Carolina, but it'll be up to their quarterback if he plays good or not. I think they come up short. I think Notre Dame's going to be a playoff team this year, so I got Notre Dame by about 10 points.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be a great game to watch. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame by at least 7 over North Carolina. That'll be a good quality win for the Fighting Irish to be a ranked ACC team who were once made it into the top 10 before losing at Tallahassee to Florida State. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame over North Carolina. The next game on our list, the War on I-4. The UCF Knights travels to the South Florida Bulls, your 2017 national champions, quote-unquote 2017 national champions, against the South Florida Bulls. So who do you got, UCF or USF?
I refuse to pick UCF, so I got the Bulls.
I had to pick with you on that, but I mean, if you think about it, I mean, South Florida, I mean, they were riding high a couple years ago, and all of a sudden, they taken that long, long, long fall down the drain. So I have to go with UCF. I mean, South Florida, they have fallen off since Charlie Strong pretty much both took over and left. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Knights.
I thought they played pretty good against Cincinnati last week. But, I'm not going to pick them. I don't care if they win or not.
All right, next game on our list. Wyoming Cowboys travels to the brand new this is the second new stadium in the NFL, home to the Las Vegas Raiders Allegiant Stadium, where it's home to the UNLV Rebels. Wyoming at UNLV at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Very nice stadium. I saw it. I'm telling you, the NFL has gotten really good with their new stadiums, especially the one in Los Angeles. That cost like $5.1 billion to build. That Utah, the one you want to talk about comparison? The one in Atlanta was like $1.5 billion. The one in Los Angeles, 5.1. That is impressive, and that's a lot of money to build a new stadium nowadays. But anyway, Wyoming and UNLV at Las Vegas at the home of the Raiders. Who do you got?
Man, I don't know what Wyoming's doing this year, really, and I really don't know what UNLV's doing. But I'm gonna go with them Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, in the history of UNLV football, they have slumped, but I mean, they've been trying to improve, and I applaud them for it. But I'm gonna go with the Wyoming Cowboys because Josh Allen playing for the Bills. Not that they're my favorite team, but I do like Josh Allen. I mean, he's done an awesome job with the Cowboys, and then now with the Bills. So
they got a good coach in Wyoming as well. I mean, he's been there forever.
Yeah, he has. The battle for the axe. Stanford travels to California with no fans in attendance. That game will be at 3 o'clock Central Time on Fox. California, their first game of the year was against UCLA on a Sunday, and I totally forgot they were playing that day. So, of course, I mean, we all know all about these teams, but we got to make a pick. Stanford or Cal?
I got Stanford.
Yeah, I got Stanford as well. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about Cal. I didn't get to watch them, so I got to go with Stanford in this situation. The Civil War, yeah, for some reason, I don't know why, they call this rivalry the Civil War. Up in Oregon, the Oregon Ducks, 9th-ranked Ducks, travel to the Beavers of Oregon State. Again, I'm not kidding. This rivalry is called the Civil War. Again, these games are here on Friday games. We'll get to Saturday's games here momentarily, including the Iron Bowl. But the Ducks and the Beavers in the Civil War, who do you got?
I got the Ducks. I think the Ducks are going to put it on.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, just like UNLV, Oregon State's had a history of slumping in football, so I got to take the Ducks in this situation as well. Let's move on ahead to Saturday games. Of course, by the way, Washington State has been canceled, so the Apple Cup will not be played this year. That's one of my favorite rivalries, honestly, is the Apple Cup between Washington and Wazoo. But anyway, let's get to Saturday. The number 3 Ohio State Buckeyes travel to the Illinois Illini after Illinois dismantled the Nebraska Cornhuskers last Saturday. So who do you have, Ohio State, or does Illinois pull off a major upset?
I think Ohio State's a playoff team. I got them big in that game.
Yeah, I wanted Indiana to win last week because I really felt like this was the year that somebody else from the Big Ten was going to knock off Ohio State. Excuse me, but
it's going to be tough to beat Ohio State with Justin Fields. I mean, he's
if they meet Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game, I'm going to go with Northwestern if they meet Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. So I'm going to go with the Buckeyes against Illinois. Speaking of Indiana, they host the Maryland Terrapins, 12th-ranked Hoosiers against the Terrapins with Talia Tagovailoa leading the way for the Terps. I don't think there's anybody in attendance, unless I'm wrong. It says here that there's no tickets available. So Hoosiers or Terps, who do you have?
I got the fighting Tonga Violas. That's who I got.
Really?
Yeah, I got Maryland. I think Tuli's really, put some hope in that football team. He can sling the ball around and they can put some points on the board.
You know what? I am actually going to go with – I'm going to go with the Thompson native leading the Maryland Terrapins. I'm taking Maryland for the upset. That'll be one of the upsets of the weekend for sure. Texas Tech traveling to Stillwater to take on the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Red Raiders at the 21st ranked Cowboys. That game can be seen on Fox at 11 a.m. Central Time. Boone Pickens Stadium. Who do you have? Texas Tech or Oklahoma State?
I got Oklahoma State. They're mad about last week getting shellacked in Bedlam last week. So by Oklahoma. So I got Oklahoma State this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take Oklahoma State too. I mean, you have to go with the Cowboys in this situation. I mean, Texas Tech this year has been off. I mean, way off. I don't know what's been going on up there, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys. Speaking of slacking, I'll tell you this, man. I've never seen a team fall off more than I've ever seen. I mean, think about it. Penn State started off sixth. And here they are, 0-5, 0-6, whatever the record is now. And they got to go to the big house in Michigan, who, of course, James Franklin's already on the hot seat, but so is Jim Harbaugh. Whose seat gets hotter this weekend, Penn State or Michigan's head coaches?
So which one's more or less of a dumpster fire? These two right here, man. I feel for Penn State fans because they're not used to this. Not used to this at all.
In fact, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the only time Penn State has ever gone 0-5 or 0-6 to start the season, this year. In the history of Penn State football, they have never been this bad. Like 0-6. I'm talking. That's what we're talking. No game won yet. That's how bad it's been at Penn State. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know. James Franklin. I mean, he's probably getting all kinds of death threats. Jim Harbaugh's been getting them. So I'm gonna go with the Wolverines, even though I hate them. I'm gonna go with the Wolverines. They're less of a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I'd say the bigger dumpster fire has to be Michigan because what is Harbaugh doing? Well, we're gonna find out when they play Ohio State if he keeps his job. I guarantee if he loses to Ohio State this year, he's done. He's got to be after this year if he loses to Ohio State one more time. But I'm going to go with Michigan to beat the Nittany Lions. But if they lose, buddy, that seat's going to be hotter than 5 hells. I'll tell you what. Let's see. The NC State Wolfpack traveling to Syracuse after coming off that big win over previously undefeated Liberty. The Wolfpack travels to the Orange at the Carrier Dome. So who do you got, NC State or Syracuse?
I got the Wolfpack. I think they're playing tough football right now. I got the Wolfpack.
Yeah, I agree. Tough football means winning a lot of games. I'm going to go with NC State too. Here's one of the teams that I did not expect to even be good this year. Well, actually, these are one of the 2 teams we're going to look at. Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, who had a battle with Appalachian State this past weekend, travels to Texas State. The undefeated 60th ranked Chanticleers. I mean, think about this. What a decade Coastal Carolina's had. They move up to FBS, and the baseball team just a couple years ago, if you remember, won the College World Series in their first ever appearance in Omaha. I'd like to say, what a decade for Coastal Carolina, or previously a few years. But anyway, undefeated Coastal Carolina travels to Texas State. Who do you have, Chanticleer or Bobcats?
Oh, I got Coastal Carolina. They're playing really good football. I thought they were going to get beat last week by Appy State. That was a good game.
I actually picked Appalachian State to win last week. I don't know if I did or not. But anyway, I'm going to go with Coastal Carolina big over Texas State. Here's the other Sun Belt team who I didn't expect to have a good season. Well, I kind of did, but I didn't expect them to be this good. The Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns traveling to their arch rivals at University of Louisiana Monroe. Fun fact here: one of the Duck Dynasty guys actually used to be a backup for Terry Bradshaw at UL Monroe. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah,
but
I know that.
So, who do you got, Louisiana Lafayette or Louisiana Monroe?
I got them Raging Cajuns. I like what they're doing this year.
I agree. I'm going to go with the Raging Cajuns big over UL Monroe. Our other in-state brothers, the South Alabama Jaguars. By the way, I have a friend of mine who went to high school with me for several years, or went to school with me for several years. Then he transferred to Central Clay County, and then he got a scholarship to play at South Alabama, and his name is Davin Flanord. But he's doing really good for the Jaguars. He got on You Got Mossed just last night on Monday Night Football. I didn't watch it. I heard about it. But anyway, his dad is actually one of the former great Alabama basketball stars. I don't know if you remember this guy, Gerald Wallace.
Oh, yeah.
My dad actually used to coach him in high school at my alma mater at Childersburg High School. So yeah, Gerald Wallace's son, Davin Flanord, and the South Alabama Jaguars traveling to the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Who do you got, Jags or the Red Wolves?
Oh, I got the Jags.
Yeah, me too. I have to because of my friends, so I got to go with South Alabama in this one. Pittsburgh at Clemson. I think the last time we saw Pittsburgh play Clemson, it was, by the way, this is in Death Valley. 4 years ago, Pittsburgh went to Death Valley and beat Clemson, which is, of course, the last time Clemson lost a home game. So, do you see lightning striking twice, or does Clemson get the win after having that so-called bye week against Florida State?
I think Dabo's going to remind them about that loss to Pitt. How they played. They still went on to the national championship game. And was that 2015 or 16? I was 16. They won the national championship. Yeah, they beat us. Yeah, so
the year that they won the national championship was when they had that loss to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they beat us with the pick play. I think Clemson's gonna put it on them, Death Valley. They ain't gonna lose at home again for a while.
Yeah, they got Sunshine quarterback in Clemson, and they're gonna remind Pittsburgh of they don't come into the house and beat Clemson again. So I don't think lightning strike twice. I'm gonna go with the Clemson Tigers big over Pittsburgh. The 11th ranked Northwestern Wildcats traveling to Michigan State, and I'll tell you, getting shut out by Indiana is one thing. Well, yeah, it was Indiana who shut them out, but I mean, you understand Indiana's really good, but it don't matter. You don't get shut out by anybody named Indiana in the Big Ten. But anyway, who do you got, Wildcats or Spartans?
Oh, I got the Wildcats big. I know Mel Tucker. He's trying to get the wagons turned around over there at Michigan State, but it's kind of went downhill for him this year after the Michigan win. So yeah, I got those Wildcats.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I still think they're going to beat Ohio State they're going to meet Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. And as I said, I think they'll beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. So give me Northwestern over the Michigan State Spartans. Let's travel now to the stadium that's not too far from the new SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Southern California, 19th ranked Trojans host the Colorado Buffaloes, 2:30 on ABC. If I'm correct, Colorado has never beaten Southern California ever. So who you got? Does Colorado get the historic first win, or does Southern California keep the trend going by beating Colorado?
Oh, I think USC wins. It might be a close game because that's what USC's been doing all year. Has been playing close games, but they've been winning them. So I think the Trojans get it done.
I'm going to disagree. I mean, first time you play a close game, that's strike. That's strike one. Second time you play a close game, that's strike two. Your players are going to be tired for sure. Third time will be a charm. I'm going to go with Colorado to upset the Southern California Trojans at the Coliseum. Undefeated Cincinnati, number 7, traveling to Temple, 3:00 Central Time on ESPNU. Do you see Cincinnati as a potential maybe college football playoff bound team? And who do you see winning, Cincinnati or Temple?
I think Cincinnati's going to win. The only way I see Cincinnati getting in the top 5 if one of these teams that are in the top 4 getting beat. That'd be the only way I can see any of those non-Power 5 teams getting in. It'll take maybe one or two of those playoff teams right now getting beat. But I think Cincinnati's going to win this game big.
Yeah, I got Cincinnati big, and I do like that. I mean, yeah, and I agree with the other part too. I mean, you gotta hope for somebody in the top 4 to fall, whether it be Alabama, whether it be Ohio State, whether it be maybe Notre Dame, which I think could happen later on this year, especially in the ACC championship game if they meet Clemson. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati big over Temple in Philadelphia. Number 14, Oklahoma travels to West Virginia at Morgantown, West Virginia. I was trying to remember the town. They play at 6:30 Central Time on ABC. The last time Oklahoma traveled to West Virginia, high scoring after score after score after score after score, back and forth. I mean, no defense in the Big 12, obviously. So who do you have, Oklahoma or West Virginia?
Man, I'll tell you, those Mountaineers are tough at home. They always give teams fit at home, and I'm thinking that Oklahoma's going to have a letdown game from Bedlam. So I'm going with upset. I'm going West Virginia.
Wow, that's bold right there. But you know what? I'm going to disagree. I think that Rattler kid for Oklahoma, he's really good. I'm going to go with Oklahoma, but it will be a close game, and I expect that game to be a shootout up there in Morgantown. So give me the Sooners. Let's go to our last in-state brothers before the game we're going to talk about in a minute. The Troy Trojans traveling to the App State Mountaineers. Of course, last week Appalachian State falls short against the undefeated Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. So who do you see winning, Troy or App State?
I think App State's going to bounce back. I know Troy plays pretty good, plays tough. It's at home, right? Is it at Troy? Troy?
It's in North Carolina at App State.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got App State.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with Appalachian State. Yeah, I just don't. I mean, Troy. They've been good recently, but I just don't know if they're ready to get back to being good yet. Again, by beating App State, I don't know if they're ready yet. So we got all of our in-state brothers down, but now it's time to put our attention to the biggest rivalry. And I don't care what you guys say about what rivalry you think is the best. It's, in my opinion, the Iron Bowl is not one of, but it's the best rivalry in sports, really. Not just college football, but in my opinion, the best rivalry in sports, period. Red Sox, Yankees, no way. Cowboys, Redskins. Well, we can't say Redskins no more because of liberals, but fine, we'll say it. Redskins, Cowboys, a good rivalry, but not good enough. Not as good as the one and only Iron Bowl. So, Lawtide, I know you're gonna choose Alabama, but can you make your reasons why you think Alabama will win the game?
One thing I think Alabama can do against Auburn is run the football. I think Alabama's got the best offensive line in the country. It's really showing what Najee Harris is doing, and that's something you got to do in the late months of the season. Is you got to run the football. I think Alabama can throw the football. I think Mac Jones, probably the best quarterback in the country. To me, he is. I know a lot of people are on Kyle Trask right now, but I think Alabama can beat you in the trenches. I think Alabama can beat you on the defense. I think what's hurting Auburn this year is their offensive line and losing a lot of those defensive linemen. The trenches have really killed Auburn this year, and bad quarterback play. A lot of dissension on the sidelines with those kids, and that's one thing you don't see out of Alabama. You don't see our kids doing that a lot on the sidelines. I mean, they just want to do better and win football games and go 1-0. So that's just how I feel about it. I think we got you in the trenches this year. I think we got better skill players, and our defense is stepping up, playing better football every week.
Yeah, here's my point. I mean, of course, it was reported that Tank Bigsby, who's one of our best running backs on the field, is questionable, but I still think he'll play. But if he plays, can Alabama's defense stop the fast Tank Bigsby? Can they slow down Anthony Schwartz, one of our speedsters on the receiving corps? Will Bo Nix be able to be like he was last year? I don't know, because this isn't Bryant Denny, but you got to think about this too. And, of course, it has nothing to do with what skill on the field, but there's going to be limited capacity inside Bryant Denny Stadium. So something's got to give. I mean, I'm hopeful we win, and I am saying we're going to win. I did say I'm hopeful. But if Auburn wins, it's going to come down to the wire, I think, on whoever scores last. Obviously, whoever scores last would win, but it's going to be close if Auburn wins the game. I'll just put it that way. But that's my point that's my viewing point of how the game will come down if Auburn wins. Let's real quick. We also, not only is college football going to be on the schedule this week, we also have some Thanksgiving NFL games. Now, I don't talk a lot of NFL on the on my show, but since it's Thanksgiving, we need to give thanks to football, because without football, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. Let's take a look at our first game. The Houston Texans traveling to the Detroit Lions. Obviously, Detroit has a great Thanksgiving tradition. Of course, Detroit coming off that shutout loss to the Carolina Panthers. So who do you see winning this game, Houston or Detroit?
I think Detroit's going to win the game. I think they always play better on Thanksgiving. They've won more than they've lost on Thanksgiving. And Houston right now, they're in turmoil. You know, they lost their coach. Their coach got fired in the middle of the season there. So I think Detroit's going to pull it out.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I mean, Houston is doing good with Deshaun Watson, the former Clemson quarterback, but I have to go with Matthew Stafford in Detroit at home. I mean, like you said, they're always good at home on Thanksgiving Day, so I'm going to take the Lions in this one. Our next Thanksgiving Day, the Washington Cowboys. Washington. I just read the whole thing saying Washington Cowboys. But anyway, this game is following the Houston-Detroit game. The Washington football team, Washington football team takes on the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry World. So who do you have, Washington or Dallas?
Well, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, so I'm going with the Cowboys. Yeah, I've been a Cowboys fan since I was about 5 years old.
All right, I feel your pain. I don't feel. I mean, I understand your pain.
But I think we turned it around last week against the Vikings. I think we're going to beat Washington, man. I really do. They'll always be the Redskins to me, though.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I mean, I'm not that huge in the NFL, but I do say that the Chiefs are one of my favorite teams because, I like that they do the tomahawk chop. They get to keep it, unlike how the Braves do it. But I'm also a Tennessee Titans fan because they're close to home. I can't be a Falcons fan because of, why? Why? Well, I can't. That franchise has gone so downhill since that Super Bowl loss to New England. So anyway, I'm going to agree. I think Dallas, they're good at home, especially on Thanksgiving, just like Detroit is. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this one. Ravens and Steelers, I don't know if that game has been called off yet or not because I heard that Ravens closed their facility. But I'm sure if they play, that game will be played at 7:20 on NBC. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the only undefeated team left, and if they lose to Baltimore, then the Miami Dolphins team from like the 1970s when they went undefeated, they can celebrate with, well, I'm sure, a virtual party or something because of this COVID-19 pandemic. But anyway, who do you got, Pittsburgh or Baltimore?
I think the Steelers on a roll right now. Roethlisberger, he's really come on this year. Man, I was watched the Ravens last week. They played the Titans. And, Titans just took the wheel from them, there at late. They had the game won, but they took it from them there in overtime. So I think the Steelers are going to win that ball game.
Yeah, I mean, look, Pittsburgh has got it going on right now, but the team that's really given them the closest battle, I'm sure, all year has probably been Baltimore, if I'm correct. So, I mean, I have to go with undefeated Pittsburgh in this situation because, I mean, look, that team's got it going on with Big Ben still leading the way. And also, I don't know if you paid attention to it last week or not, or if you knew this, but there was actually 2 former Alabama running backs who both are Heisman Trophy winners, and they got to play against each other in the Baltimore-Tennessee game. Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew about that, but
yeah, I watched the game. Prayers out to Mark Ingram. I hear he's got the COVID right now.
Oh yeah, I actually just now remembered that too. But anyway, we got one more topic I want to talk about. Of course, I haven't been a wrestling fan in years, but when Edge came back, I started watching again. But this past Sunday on Survivor Series, one of the greatest sports entertainment performers of all time, The Undertaker, said his final farewell to wrestling, and he is officially a retired wrestler. Of course, his real name is Mark Calloway. I mean, if you have not seen The Last Ride with The Undertaker, you need to watch it. I'm telling you, buddy, it provides a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff that you'll never see from The Undertaker. So I promise you, this guy he's a true warrior. I mean, think about the injuries that The Undertaker suffered. Think about the surgeries he had to go through. We're talking 3 decades, guys. 30 years to the day he debuted at Survivor Series. November 22nd, 1990 to November 22nd, 2020. This guy has been there, done that, been through tough times, injuries. Lawtide, what are your thoughts on Undertaker retiring?
He's going to be missed. I mean, that's like, it's like taking Babe Ruth out of baseball. It's like taking Pete Rose out of baseball. He's just an icon. Man, I remember seeing him 30 years ago when his first Survivor Series, and he walked out there with the $1 Million Man, and I was like, "Whoa, what's this guy? Who's this guy?" But man, he really did it. I got to go see the WrestleMania there, WrestleMania 27, when he was in Atlanta. With him and Triple H. Yeah, him and Triple H had put on a match. It was the first match they had. And it was an awesome, awesome sight to see him out there wrestling. The way he does his persona and the way he goes about his business, I don't know who can top it. I mean, and he kept in character all these years, and he's finally letting people see behind the scenes stuff. That's pretty cool. But he's going to be missed. He's going to be missed.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, and they did, Undertaker and Triple H didn't meet, but that was not the first time. It was actually at WrestleMania X7. 17.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yep.
Way back. This was back when Undertaker was he was, in my opinion, the greatest gimmick of him. I mean, yes, the Dead Man, yes, the Angel of the Lord of Darkness, all this stuff. But in my opinion, I'm sure everyone agrees with me, the greatest gimmick that Mark Calloway put on was that American Badass gimmick when Undertaker would ride in with a bandana, motorcycle, American flag in the back. But you cannot deny that is the greatest gimmick that he thought of doing. That was, of course, back in the Attitude Era. But the most chilling entrances he'll ever have is not just the American Badass. It's also the slow walk with the bell making it sound like it's toll, flames rising up in the sky, fog rolling in. You gotta admit, the Dead Man entrances are always so bone chilling. And I don't know if I can find it real quick, but there is one. Well, hold on, let me close this out real quick. But there was one during his final moments as before he walked off of the out of the ring for the last time, there was a hologram of. Here we go. I think I got it now. Let's see here if I can get a good shot of it. Here we go. There was a good shot of Undertaker when you know how he does when he gets on his knee to pose, and then you hear the sounds of Paul Bearer going, "Oh yeah," and then it shows him fading in. Honestly, when I saw that, I've never cried that much because also you got to think about this too. A lot of people don't know this. Paul Bearer, aka William Moody, is a Mobile native. He's also buried down there in Mobile as well. So that's he's also the guy who bought in Kane. Of course, he is now the mayor of Knox County. Of course, his real name is Glenn Jacobs. But what's also your thoughts of Paul Bearer when he was Undertaker's manager?
Oh, it all come together. I remember Brother Love was his manager at the beginning of his career.
Yeah.
Then Brother Love, he was having to do all the behind the scenes stuff. You know, Bruce Pritchard, he's doing all the behind the scenes stuff. So he had to find a manager for him, and he found Paul Bearer, and man, they really captivated the audience, and they really put on a good show, and they always had a great storyline, the way they kept their storylines going. And and throughout his career, you always knew, that urn came out, it was going to get serious.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all. I've seen comments from people on Facebook when ESPN mentioned about Undertaker and all stuff. They say, "Oh, I remember when Paul Bearer would come out, he'd scare me and all this stuff." And then 30 years later, or no, it was Undertaker that would scare him. And then 30 years later, they're like, "Thank you, Taker." Like they embrace it and they're not scared of it anymore. But that's the reason why that they were so scared is because Undertaker was doing his job, and as being one heck of a wrestler. That's going to do it for the TigerWarEagle14 show. Lawtide, I thank you for joining me. Hopefully we can do this again sometime down the road, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, happy Thanksgiving to you. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
Don't have good luck to your football team until, but after the game, maybe we can, give a tip of the hat,
Oh, yeah.
You give us a no rammer jammer.
Oh, yeah. It should be a good game Saturday. It should be a good game Saturday. Happy Thanksgiving, Lawtide. Thanks again for joining.
Y'all be good now. I'll holler at you a while ago.
All right, see you. And that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for the TigerWarEagle14 show. Again, I thank Lawtide for joining. I mean, if you haven't yet, go subscribe to him. I mean, he always puts out one of those one time videos about hyping up a Alabama football game. But yeah, I've seen his videos. He's one of the greatest guys I actually gotten to know him just recently. Great guy. And of course, again, I thank you for joining and everything. But also want to thank you guys for joining. Let's look at the comment section. Samuel Pate says 73-7 Bama. Okay. I mean, that'll be the highest scoring or most lopsided win in Iron Bowl history. Pizza Woman, thank you for joining. Squidtard, our program is cursed. Well, don't worry, Squidtard. I mean, Auburn's been through that before, like way back in the 1980s before Bo Jackson came on the scene. But anyway, that's it, everyone. I hope you have a great, happy Thanksgiving. And again, to close this out, we're going to show the Auburn Alabama hype video one last time. But until next time we see each other, see you next time. Bye, everybody.